Imagine for a second that you're standing in a room where the very fabric of reality is shaking. You're completely out of your depth, surrounded by beings of unimaginable power. That's exactly where we find ourselves today in this explainer. We're stepping into the incredibly quiet, almost storm-like aftermath of one of the most fascinating supernatural political shifts we've ever covered. We're looking at the events of the War of Crowns, but we're doing it through a very specific, incredibly grounded lens, the perspective of Ilyan Marr. He's a fragile, mortal, human observer, standing right in the middle of a hall of demons where the highest ranks, the Goetic Council, have just delivered an absolutely terrifying reality check to their subordinates. For a long time, the lower choirs of demons have been running rampant, right? They were making reckless bargains with mortal officials, manipulating kingdoms, and basically thinking they were entirely untouchable. But as we're going to dive into today, actions have massive cosmic consequences. And Ilyan, he is uniquely positioned to witness the catastrophic fallout of all this unchecked ambition.
Just listen to these chilling words from King Paimon. He stood before the council and said, "The danger is that we have become visible." That single sentence immediately shattered the lower demon choir's entire understanding of their own safety. It's a total game changer. Up until this exact moment, those lesser demons truly thought the only thing they ever had to fear was the anger of the higher demon kings. That was the ceiling of their worry. But Paimon, stripping away all of his usual grandeur and his famous music, just drops this massive bombshell. The lower ranks had been having a field day manipulating humans, playing God, enjoying all this newfound leverage. But Paimon is flat out telling them that their reckless games haven't just irritated the High Crowns. No, it's way worse than that. They've actually caught the attention of something entirely outside their hierarchy. Which brings us to our first major concept, the illusion of borrowed power. Let's really look at what this collaboration actually achieved. What we're dealing with here is a stark, genuinely terrifying contrast between two completely different states of existence. On one side, you have mortal desperation. Human citizens, local officials, kings, they aren't making these dark bargains just for the thrill of it. They're messy, they're fragile, and they are incredibly desperate. They're seeking miracles just to survive famines, they're trying to win bloody wars, and they're begging for healing for their dying families. It's pure survival. But on the exact opposite side, you have demonic calculation. The higher demons, beings like Asmodee and Buer, they aren't offering sympathy. They don't care about human suffering. They are coldly mathematically calculating how fast this borrowed power is going to decay, and they are terrified of the catastrophic long-term costs it's going to bring down on both realms. They look at our fragile human institutions and they don't see partners. They see massive, glowing liabilities that are drawing unwanted eyes. And sitting right in the crosshairs of this is Ilyan Marr. He fits perfectly between these two completely terrified realities. Think about the incredible internal struggle going on in his head. He intimately, deeply understands the fragility of his fellow humans. He knows their desperate, blinding need for protection because he feels it too. Yet he also carries this heavy, incredibly cold wisdom imparted to him by the demon prince Vassago, not to mention the lingering, dangerous influence of Belial. Ilyan is essentially a living bridge, carrying immense psychological weight. He sees the human desperation on the ground, but he also sees the cold, legalistic panic of the demon kings up high, who have suddenly realized their underlings push the universe way, way too far. Let's move on to the rising smoke of mortal bargains and see how this all spiraled out of control. During the council, the demon vine showed everyone his map of human dependency. Now, this wasn't a map of physical borders or geography. It was a map of raw influence, and it was staggering. We're talking about thousands of secret bargains staining palaces, and even more tragically, countless desperate prayers from frightened families. Entire battlefields were being manipulated, swayed by supernatural whispers.
Temples were being divided by false omens planted by lesser demons. Human officials had become entirely, hopelessly addicted to this unseen influence. The demon Vassago pointed out something crucial here. While the lower demons thought these were just clever, isolated little victories for themselves, they were actually glaring cosmic wounds. The ordinary citizens who were just seeking protection were inadvertently forming a massive, undeniable pattern of supernatural interference across the entire human world. It was a giant red flag. King Paimon captures this perfectly with a vivid and frankly terrifying metaphor. He says, "You used mortals as candles. Now understand this. 1,000 candles become a signal fire." It's such a brilliant way to frame it. By granting all these little favors, by answering all these desperate human prayers, the lower demons didn't just build a fun little cult of personality. Because human leaders became so heavily addicted to supernatural shortcuts, they inadvertently turned their entire realms into blazing beacons. They basically lit up the mortal world like a massive flare in the dark of the universe. And when you light a flare that big, someone is bound to see it.
So who exactly noticed that signal? That brings us to the unseen powers.
The council was so terrified of these entities that they didn't even dare speak their true names out loud. They only used these veiled, hushed terms: the orders beyond the seal, the witnessing flame, the thrones of unbargained light, the law that remembers. Imagine the absolute awe and sheer terror Ilyan Marr must be feeling just hearing this. These aren't just rival demons. These aren't just bigger monsters. These are ancient living powers that exist solely to answer cosmic imbalance. They are completely alien, and more importantly, they are entirely unnegotiable. You can't bribe them. You can't trick them with a clever contract. They are pure judgment wearing a mask. By interfering so heavily in the mortal realm, the reckless hunger of the lower demons has essentially rung the dinner bell for the universe's ultimate auditors. The absolute gravity of this situation is nailed down by First King Bael. He tells the council, "There are powers that do not care whether a spirit is king, duke, earl, or nameless servant. They care only whether the old boundaries have been broken." Now, what you really need to take away from this is how historically unprecedented it is for Bael to say something like that. Bael is pride personified. This is a being who has never, ever admitted to a ceiling above his own throne. But right here, right now, he is openly acknowledging that even he fears being measured by these outside watchers. It's simple. If the first king is afraid, the borrowed authority that the lesser demons have been throwing around means absolutely nothing. It's a sobering reality check. Let's break down exactly how this cosmic attention gets drawn. This is where demon calculation clashes with human fragility. Vassago delivers what might be the most chilling revelation of the whole council. Suffering has witnesses. It turns out it's not just the big, flashy, world-ending magical rituals that draw the attention of these higher powers. It's the ordinary citizens. It's a child praying at an empty granary. It's a desperate minister signing a bad treaty just because a demon whispered a promise in his ear. You see, when the demons manipulate human choices to this extreme degree, they actively rob humans of their agency. And the true cosmic price of that isn't paid by the demon. It's paid by the ordinary farmer or child whose life gets completely twisted by a bargain they didn't even make. When enough of these manipulated choices gather together, the hidden world becomes a lot less hidden. Those ancient unseen powers, they pay very, very close attention to the manipulated suffering of the vulnerable. As Ilyan watches all this unfold, Earl Andromalius, the keeper of stolen things, lays out the terrifying truth for both the mortals and the demons in the room. He looks at the lower ranks and says, "You stole the difference between choice and manipulation. Consequence does not choose one rank, it climbs." And that right there is the core issue. The scandal of stolen authority isn't going to just stay neatly contained at the bottom of the hierarchy. It climbs.
It's going to climb right up from those bloody human altars, past the lesser demons, straight up to the thrones of the demon kings themselves. The outer powers don't even need to defeat the demons in a massive war. They literally just need to see that the demons have become careless with the balance of the universe, and the consequences will handle the rest. So, to stop consequence from climbing, the demon kings are forced to lay down a harsh new demonic law. They have to put out the signal fire immediately, so the high crowns force a strict mandate of containment onto the mid-ranks. Just look at how structural this is. Presidents are now mandated to aggressively record knowledge, specifically to stop dangerous leaks to humans. Marquises have to go out and physically restrain the violent mortal cults that the lower demons recklessly built up. Earls are tracking stolen authority, dukes are guarding the crossing roads to stop travel, and princes are monitoring loyalty. But I want you to really think about what this suddenly means for mortal officials down on Earth. The miraculous healing they relied on, the guaranteed crop harvests, the instant battlefield victories, all of that is going to violently vanish overnight. Mortal leaders are about to be left entirely exposed and defenseless as the demons suddenly slam the door shut, turning into a supernatural police force, desperately scrambling to hide their tracks.
But the real teeth of this new legislation comes from Vassago's final clause. He states, "Any rank that draws the eyes of other powers through reckless hunger will stand before those eyes without the shelter of the crowns." This is both brilliant and absolutely brutal. It completely rewires demonic obedience. Suddenly, they aren't obeying the kings out of loyalty or respect anymore. They are obeying out of pure, calculated, terrified self-preservation. The kings are officially throwing the lower ranks to the wolves. They're making it clear, if you mess up, if your little human side hustle attracts the unseen powers, you are entirely on your own. The crowns won't protect you.
Which perfectly leads us into the final overarching theme, the hidden price of protection. As our human observer Ilyan Marr quickly realizes, ending these ancient bargains isn't going to be as simple as the demons just passing a new law. The demon Valac, a being who practically thrives on chaos, actually laughs at the High Council because he sees a fundamental flaw in their plan. He exposes what we'll call Valac's truth, telling human officials that higher, terrifying powers are watching the universe won't make them stop making dark bargains. Fear doesn't stop humans, it just makes us dig deeper. Frightened officials will inevitably search for an even darker, more obscure supernatural shortcut to protect them from the consequences of the secrets they've already made. This is the ultimate hidden price mortals pay for seeking demonic protection in the first place. The desperation for a shortcut just becomes a vicious, unbreakable cycle that continuously feeds itself. And this realization leaves Ilyan Marr with a nearly impossible, mind-bending dilemma. How can he, as a human leader who now knows the cold, hard truth of the universe, warn his people without that very warning turning into a brand new religion of dependency? If he goes back and tells humanity all about the unseen powers and the cosmic auditors, humans might just start worshiping him as a prophet. Or worse, they might start worshiping the warning itself, simply trading one dangerous supernatural dependency for another one. He realizes in real time that human ignorance is incredibly dangerous. But half knowledge, giving people just enough lore to be scared, could actually be fatal. Yet despite that dilemma, Ilyan's very existence might be the key to the whole thing. He is the living witness. He is walking, breathing proof that mortals can actually resist manipulation. He survived the direct attention of demon kings, and, crucially, he refused to blindly kneel to them. Why this matters to the world within this narrative, and what we should take away from it, is that truly understanding the cold, uncaring mechanics of this hierarchy is the only way to break this cycle. Mortals must be told just enough of the truth so they finally stop feeding the signal fire.
They have to stop begging for borrowed miracles and start acknowledging the uncomfortable, heavy truth that they must take responsibility for their own choices without relying on unseen hands.
Ilyan Marr ultimately leaves his followers with this incredibly haunting conclusion. Do not seek power first. Seek the cost of power, and ask who benefits when you ignore it. It's such a profound realization about the true hidden cost of all borrowed influence, whether it's supernatural or entirely human. Whenever we are offered a miraculous shortcut to fix our fragility, we have to pause and ask ourselves, what is the hidden price tag attached to this, and who is really profiting from our desperation? It's a heavy thought, but an important one. Think about that the next time you see an easy answer to a deeply complex problem. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning the cost, and I'll catch you in the next one.